How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. There's a new seller. There's a new seller of Bitcoin. It's one that we talked about maybe 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, but they're rearing their ugly head again, dumping Bitcoin on the market. To be clear, though, I think you should stay through to the end of the video. This is not a FUD video. I'm going to give both sides of, who's selling and then why I'm actually bullish and why this will turn around. So stay through to the end. I think this is going to be a good video. If you don't mind though, hit subscribe, turn on the bell notification underneath the video so you can see future videos just like this. I want to talk about Exter, which is actually the actual wallet that I use to carry cards and cash, but we'll talk more about that later. There is a link to HGAaccess underneath the video where you can get information from myself along with 9 other influencers all the time talking about what we're seeing in the market, what we're hearing from projects, all that kind of stuff. There's also a link down there to Margex where you can trade cryptocurrency. You can long or short. You can set it up in just minutes. You can start trading today. We've had a lot of people sign up for this. A lot of people getting ready for this next bull run. I mean, think about how much money was made. I know because I was one of those people that made a good amount of money as we went up from 38, 37, all the way up to 48, putting on some longs there. So definitely check that link out underneath the video. Now, we have seen some liquidations in the last 24 hours. A lot of longs liquidated. Actually, a good amount of shorts too, but way more longs liquidated than shorts. We've also been talking about just who's been selling. Now, we know FTX has been selling GBTC. The estate has been selling off about $1 billion worth of GBTC. And I believe they did the last selling either Friday or yesterday. So they should, because it does take a few days for the selling to actually go through. There's T+2. It takes 2 days after whoever sells GBTC for GBTC to unload it. It should be done by tomorrow. So I think this will slow down. We also know there's some fear in the market about Mt. Gox as well. Some people are getting reached out to about confirming their Bitcoin addresses because apparently Mt. Gox is going to pay out some of their creditors. We also know, and sorry if the computer's a little bit laggy, lots of tabs opened up right now. We also know that miners are selling, and this is something that I mentioned in a video maybe about 10 days ago. This day that we had this big red candle right after ETF approval, where we went from 46 to 42, we saw a massive amount of selling from miners, actually just miner outflows, transferring over to Coinbase or wherever they transfer to. 61,000 Bitcoin. I mean, that's going to move the price of Bitcoin if they sell. Think about that. That is multiples of what even GBTC is selling each day. And since then, we had a couple days where it went down, but then it picked right back up. It's like whenever we see a little bit of a bounce, you can see that. Whenever we see a bit of a bounce in the price, we have more miners selling. So they just sold a ton, kind of like go sideways, recover a little bit, then sold another 35,000 or had outflows of 35,000, then outflows of 50,000, outflows of 46,000, outflows of 40,000, and then a couple days later, outflows of 40,000 again, and then just yesterday, outflows of 30,000. This is a lot. This is a lot of Bitcoin. When you tally up all this, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin basically being sold to protect themselves during the next halving. When you think about that, as I've said before, their income, their revenue gets cut in half from one day to the next during that Bitcoin halving. And while price will go up eventually, right? It's not like the very next day after the Bitcoin halving, the price of Bitcoin doubles. So they do have to have some sort of cash cushion. A lot of these miners too have been buying a lot more rigs. They've been increasing the hash rate. And with the hash rate going up as well, they're mining less Bitcoin unless they get more rigs. So they've been reinvesting. They need cash on the sidelines for loans, for paying their employees and staff and executives. So there has been a decent amount of selling, and it makes sense. I mean, we did have a big run up, and during this time, honestly, there hasn't been that much selling since back in March. You can see some big outflows here. Bitcoin's price went down, but since then, it had just been kind of steady around this amount, maybe 8,000 a day or something like that, or 8. It's been just kind of steady. You can see this yellow is actually the 7-day simple moving average. And then it just spiked, right? We held on, or the miners held on for a long time, but ahead of the halving, they have to get some cash. So the 7-day moving average went from like 7,000, 8,000 Bitcoin all the way up to 30,000 Bitcoin. So that is going to force down the price. Now, will this stop? I think so. I'll explain that in a second, but before that, I want to talk about Exter. Now, we talk about hardware wallets and hot wallets all the time. Wallets. We're always focused on wallets. One wallet that I don't talk about too much is your actual physical wallet that holds cash and cards. In this country, we still need them all the time, and I have been using the same wallet for years. It's called the Exter Wallet. So this is what it looks like. It's actually pretty cool. You can fan your cards out here to make it easier to get access to them, but you have a place for your cash. You have a place for some extra cards here. It's real nice and thin as well. I've had people ask about this for a long time when they see my wallet in real life. And recently, Exter reached out about working with them again, and I wanted to do that. So I got sent a couple different wallets. This is one of them here, very similar to the last one, really nice and sleek. The one that I am using actually right now is similar to this one, but it's more of a matte color. They have wallets, but they also have other products like this power bank. This is a laptop power bank, super heavy duty. It actually can charge your phone 6 times or charge your laptop up to 50%, which is really nice. I've been traveling a lot, and if you go on some flights, they don't even have cords to charge your phone. So you're sitting in the airport waiting for hours. Then you jump on the plane and you realize you have like 20%. This is a good solution for that. So that way you never get stuck on a long flight or traveling or with some kind of problem where you just don't have power, especially in a time where information moves so quickly. Like in crypto, you can't afford to really have your phone die at important times. I also got one of these tracker cards, which are great because when you travel, you can also lose your bag. And again, you can't really lose your laptop. You can't lose anything or waste any time in a bull market. And this can also help you find your wallet, for example, too, just in case you want it on your wallet instead of your luggage in daily life. So if you want, you can check out the link underneath the video. Like I said, I've actually been using Exter for years. Now, if you use the link underneath the video and type in the code FRIEND, you can get up to 25% off. So you definitely want to check it out. They're doing a little bit of a Valentine's Day sale. Check that out underneath. So will this stop? Yes, I do think the bleeding will stop. First of all, because the Bitcoin halving is coming up. There will be a time where miners do want to just accumulate, or just they can't mine as much Bitcoin. They're getting half as much Bitcoin in their reserves. Also, if you are a miner and you do have a cash cushion going into the Bitcoin halving, like that is a very bullish time to be mining Bitcoin. If you're going to hold at all, you might want to hold on the run up to the next bull run. So I think there will be some miners that just try to hold off. You know, they'll sell right now to get some cash, but if they have 6 months or 12 months of cushion, then they might, or if they just have cheap debt, they might just go for that instead of trying to sell their Bitcoin. But also, we do know that there are entities that are buying up, like BlackRock. They have 40,000 Bitcoin with a value of 1.6 billion. Now, that alone does not cancel out how much is selling by GBTC. But as we said, like FTX is done selling, and it should reflect that very soon. The Bitcoin halving is also coming up to almost 2.5 months away. 2 months and 3 weeks at this point. We also know that there's just a huge increase in the amount of money being created. Like that's crazy, right? We continue to see debt being raised, and we do expect rates to come down this year. The expectation right now, and this changes every day, but the expectation right now is about a 1/3 chance that we see a full basis point decrease or a full percent decrease. And there's also about a 1/3 chance that we see a 1.25% percent decrease. At the same time, like I said, we have had national debt continue to go up. The Fed continues to print. That's the other side. Like, people don't get it. Over time, there's just a very good chance that the price of Bitcoin goes up because we have this ever increasing supply of debt and money, and then Bitcoin's just very scarce. Like, the acceleration curve of national debt is huge. You can see just our nation has 34 trillion in debt. This was just 30 trillion a year and a couple months ago. So when you look at how much we're increasing our debt, just every hour, we're increasing it by $382 million. And that's just this number. This is the overall national debt, not unfunded liabilities. So we continue to see $382 million in debt every single hour. They need to print their way out of that. So we have all this money that's accelerating. The national debt is accelerating. You can see it here. Just a huge increase up and to the right. We have that huge amount, and then we have something that's becoming more and more scarce in Bitcoin that's being more and more used. And keep in mind too, this is just a much better opportunity than it was a week ago, 2 weeks ago. If you still think Bitcoin's going to $100,000, you would have a much better return now compared to when we were at 48,500. If we had gone up to 100,000, you would have a 106% return. Now you'd have a 153% return. That's significantly better. I mean, that is almost that's 50% better than if you had just gone this 106%. 50% better is huge, just for waiting a couple weeks. So if you do have some money on the sidelines, it makes sense, I think, to maybe nibble a bit. We don't know when the bleeding will stop. I do like to buy, though. I like to accumulate when people are worried. These are some of my favorite times to buy Bitcoin right here. When major news outlets say Bitcoin is dead, Jim Cramer says Bitcoin has topped. The annual China ban is always a good time to be buying Bitcoin. There's a liquidation cascade in Bitcoin, so you get cheap Bitcoin just from people going too long on it. When there's a sell the news event in Bitcoin, or a bunch of people say that they'll buy it back when we hit X, whatever X is, they'll buy back their Bitcoin when Bitcoin hits 32,000, 30,000, 25,000. They'll meet us at 10,000. A lot of people do troll, but a lot of people are actually just waiting. They're waiting to buy back Bitcoin. And often when you wait to buy back Bitcoin, it doesn't work. I realized I was bullish about Bitcoin even last week or the week before when we were leading to the Bitcoin halving. When we were leading to the Bitcoin ETFs, I'm almost always bullish on Bitcoin because it almost always goes up. Over the long term, it always does. It's the best performing asset of all time. It's the best performing asset of the last 15 years. And this is just the beginning. Like, the big institutions have not been able to buy. So yes, you can buy it for 20% off. You can buy the best performing asset of the last 15 years by far for 20% off what it was 2 weeks ago. So I do think it makes sense. And honestly, whether you buy at 39,000, 32,000, it probably doesn't really matter. 44,000, 48,000, it doesn't matter really when you exactly buy. The key is to get in. If you really are bullish on Bitcoin, if you think it's going to 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, the key is to get in and make sure that you stay in. Make sure that you don't lose it to some scam. Make sure that you don't get flooded out of your investment or think you'll buy it next week or next month or something like that. And in my mind, the key is always to get more into the market. The key is to make more money, not always to time the exact bottom, because no one knows the exact bottom. There's always survivorship bias. There are going to be people that said that they time the bottom exactly right, and that's just very hard to do, and it's very hard to replicate. Now, if you do want to know what I'm doing with some other influencers, you can check out the link to HGAaccess underneath the video. Also, you can check out the link to my own Patreon. There is a link to Margex as well in case you want to trade cryptocurrency, and there is a link down there to Exter as well in case you want an actual wallet. Actual physical wallet that you can store cash and cards in. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. I will see you in the next video.